Good Monday afternoon, and thanks for joining us on Kare 11 News Now. I am Janet Shortle. Just in this afternoon, two teenagers under arrest connected to a violent armed robbery in Edina on Sunday that sent another teenager to the hospital. This all started about 5:30 last night. That's when police say they got a call for an armed robbery with shots fired off France Avenue South and Hazelton Road. That's near the Galleria Mall. The caller, according to police, reported a, quote, Facebook marketplace deal gone wrong. Our photojournalist saw this car with bullet holes and two windows shattered being towed from the Lunds and Byerly's parking lot. Investigators say they found a 16-year-old suspect driving in Edina hours later and arrested him. The 17-year-old was found at a home in Edina and taken into custody, and a .40 caliber ghost gun was found with that teenager. The 18-year-old who was shot is expected to be okay. Police say the investigation into this incident is ongoing. Also, some big news beyond the loss for the Vikings today. Tough news for the fans. Wide receiver Adam Thielen is once again moving on to a new team. In a statement, GM Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah says Thielen's representation asked the Vikings if they would release him so he could play a bigger role in what is expected to be his final season in the NFL. Calling Thielen one of the all-time great Vikings, the team says they did decide to give him that chance. In a post on social media, Adam writes, "This team is in my bones. It's my heart and it's part of my DNA. I will always be a Minnesota Viking." He also said he will come back to retire. Also today, Luigi Mangione, the man accused of killing United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson, is in court for a hearing in his state case. His attorneys are asking the court to throw out diary entries and other evidence. They argue investigators illegally searched his backpack when he was arrested in Pennsylvania. Prosecutors deny all of those claims. Mangione also faces a separate federal death penalty case. That case goes to court next month. Well, there's a new player in the race for Minnesota governor on the Republican side. Attorney Chris Maddow announced his bid today, saying Minnesota is ready for something new, in his opinion. Maddow is best known for successfully defending Minnesota State Trooper Ryan Londrigan in his trial for the 2023 shooting death of Ricky Cobb II. Maddow joins the Republican race against Minnesota House Speaker Lisa Demuth, State Representative Kristen Robbins, 2022 Republican nominee for Governor Scott Jensen, and businessman Kendall Qualls. The Minnesota Democrats had something to say about Maddow's announcement. They said he has built his career defending violent and exploitive criminals and that he would take Minnesota in the wrong direction. Well, on the minds of a lot of people right now, the weather. Happening right now, hundreds of travelers across the country are still trying to get home from Thanksgiving after winter threw a wrench in their travel plans. Right now, our airport seeing more than 100 delays and several cancellations. Our Twin Cities escaped the brunt of this impact, but Chicago got slammed with hundreds of flights being canceled on the busiest travel day of the holiday weekend. Maggie Vespa's in Chicago with the latest.
Hey there from O'Hare, arguably the epicenter of this post-Thanksgiving travel mess. We had more than 8.5 inches of snow fall here since Saturday, and what followed were thousands of cancellations and delays at this airport alone, with, of course, those travel headaches rippling across the country. We saw long lines at airports nationwide yesterday, with travelers racing to rebook impacted flights. We also confirmed 2 reports of planes sliding across tarmacs, one here at O'Hare, another one in Iowa, and then in Indiana, the snow wreaking havoc. We saw nearly 50 car pileup on I-70, so a scary scene there. Now, travel analysts stress the post-Thanksgiving travel rush is still very much ongoing, with more than 3 million people expected to pass through America's airports today. That number is on par with what we saw Saturday and Sunday, so we are by no means out of the woods. And we just checked delays and cancellations early this morning, topping 1,000 quickly nationwide. So we'll keep an eye on those numbers throughout the day, with so many crossing their fingers for a smooth trip home. Back to you.
Thanks, Maggie. Well, developing now, several people are without a home after a fire inside an apartment in downtown St. Paul. It happened inside a building right next to the Minnesota Children's Museum. Investigators believe a lithium-ion battery caused this fire. Firefighters say one person needed to be rescued from a second-floor balcony and was taken to the hospital because of smoke inhalation. No other injuries have been reported.
It's just a devastating thing right before the holidays for for these residents. You know, some of them are just getting back on their feet from homelessness and, you know, things like that.
The apartment building's property manager says some are going to be able to go into vacant units, and they're working with the Red Cross to figure out next steps for all. Happening right now, President Trump's push for peace between Ukraine and Russia is heading to Moscow. U.S. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff is meeting with Russian President Putin tomorrow after, quote, very productive talks with Ukraine. NBC's Richard Engel is in southern Ukraine with the latest.
I'm now in southern Ukraine, an area that is often targeted by Russian forces. And even though right now there is an intense diplomatic effort underway to try and end this war after nearly 4 very long years and hundreds of thousands dead on both sides, there is no ceasefire. And the Russian attacks continue in an unrelenting way. There were Russian attacks over the weekend, killing at least 1 person in an apartment complex near Kyiv. There was another Russian attack to the east of here in the city of Dnipro, and at least 4 people were killed there, according to local officials. But despite the ongoing violence, there is this determined effort right now between Ukraine and the Trump administration to try and get on to the same page, to try and come up with a more unified negotiating position to present to Vladimir Putin potentially tomorrow. And that's when Special Envoy Steve Witkoff is due to be in Russia meeting with Putin to try and come up with terms to finally end this war. Richard Engel, NBC News, outside Mykolaiv, Ukraine.
Back here at home, Twin Cities health officials say they are concerned about an uptick in cases of carbon monoxide poisoning, often called the silent killer. It's especially concerning, they say, this time of year when these bitter cold temperatures start to really settle in. HCMC says they have seen 12 patients in the month of November suffering from severe carbon monoxide poisoning. In cases like that, the patient goes into an oxygen chamber where they breathe in the oxygen in a pressurized room. That helps to quickly flush out their system. HCMC says getting your furnace checked every single year and having active carbon monoxide detectors on every level of your house and in your garage is huge.
Try not to, in the winter in Minnesota, warm your car up in your garage. That's a bad idea because it's an enclosed area, and that's why we find people unresponsive in the garage.
Wow, some symptoms of carbon monoxide poisoning include feeling dizzy, lightheaded, and if you do use a space heater in a small enclosed space, especially when you're ice fishing, you would be best bet to add a portable detector. Well, this weekend had a pretty cool sports moment in Minnesota hockey. For the first time ever, a Wild game was broadcast in the Ojibwe language. Tommy Blatek was in the booth for the Wild big win.
One of them has the same guy got in the next start, and here the Wild.
Native American Heritage Night makes it kind of safe and out in the open to come and be yourself.
Today is Native American Heritage Day here at Grand Casino Arena. So the first ever Ojibwe broadcast of an NHL game. You can check it out on the FanDuel Sports Network website.
I've always wanted to do that. I grew up playing hockey in the rivers and lakes up in the Minnesota-Ontario border. As a child, you aspired to play in the NHL. I finally made it, but in a different way, with my mouth instead of my skates.
Maji went off, and so it was just so exciting just being able to listen to him, watch the game, watch everything that's going on, and just try to get a feel of how somebody would call a game in Ojibwe.
I'm from White Earth, Ojibwe, and it's just the coolest thing, and I think it's honestly like so cool to be a part of it.
Being that Ojibwe is spoken on the broadcast, it's sending this message that you don't have to leave your identity at the door to participate in mainstream, sports.
So cool. If you're looking for something to get you in the holiday spirit, we've got yet another thing to put on your list. Check this out. A neighborhood in Farmington is putting on a display by synchronizing their houses with holiday lights and music. It's on 198th Court. It runs every night through New Year's. And they're doing something great. In addition to looking great, they're collecting food and toys to help people who need the help. We have a lot more information about this on our website, kare11.com. Stick with us here. More news and weather coming up after the break.